let's look at the relationship between hypotheses and theories. A hypothesis is a specific kind of scientific statement. It is a clear, specific and testable prediction that forms part usually of a larger theory or around which a theory is being built. They are based on either previous evidence and or plausible argument that you provide, or you derive both the argument and the evidence from a theory that is well supported. Any combination of prior evidence, plausible argument, and theory can be used to build a hypothesis and formulate a hypothesis. An example would be that individuals will vote if there is at least one politically engaged person in their close social network. You see that this statement, if you take it seriously and by the word, is very easy to dismiss because it is a so-called deterministic hypothesis. So that hypothesis should be uniformly supported by the data if the data are valid. No individual case can deviate from this deterministic formulation. And any misfit between evidence, if it's properly collected, the evidence, and the hypothesis means that the hypothesis is incorrect and must be revised or rejected entirely. So if we take it word by word, individuals, so basically all individuals, will vote if there is at least one politically engaged person in their close social network. So if you find only one person that doesn't vote and that undoubtedly has a politically engaged person in their close social network, this means that your statement is rejected, the hypothesis is rejected and proven false. It must be formulated differently or dismissed altogether. That's why in the social sciences we predominantly have so-called probabilistic hypotheses. These are hypotheses that acknowledge that the hypothesis doesn't necessarily describe every single case or unit correctly. It acknowledges that there is random influences, there's variation between units and or other explanatory factors that are not considered by the hypothesis. It's not immediately challenged thereby by a single observation that doesn't fit the hypothesis. Rather, we need to see a larger pattern across lots of cases that must be observed to test a probabilistic hypothesis. So only one person that doesn't vote and has a politically engaged person in their close social network wouldn't suffice. But if predominantly we see that there is not any change in voting likelihood depending on the structure of the social network and its political engagement, that would be something that rejects this hypothesis. So let's formulate that as a probabilistic hypothesis. Individuals are more likely to vote in an election, more likely, not they always vote, and not all individuals. So all individuals are more likely to vote in an election if they perceive that their close social network is politically engaged. So we also tie it to their perception of their close social networks, so they themselves have to think or recognize the social network according to this formulation. And sometimes, but relatively rarely, you will encounter that it's specified, the likelihood or the probability of that probabilistic hypothesis. Something like specifically the probability of an individual voting increases by 20% for each additionally politically active person in their immediate social circle. So So that's very specific. You usually don't have that in most social sciences. But the first part is clearly where you see there is a probabilistic hypothesis. More likely is the key term here. Good. Then what would be a theory in conjunction with that? An empirical positive theory. So we're not talking normative theory here, though normative statements can inform such a theory and be part of such a theory. But first and foremost, these theories are designed to describe, explain, predict reality. Then a theory is a consistent set of concepts and hypothesized relationships, you could say empirical laws, so laws according to which the real social work seems to work, between the concepts. So you define the concepts and you hypothesize the relationships between them. And you bind them together by a narrative account for the mechanisms behind the specific phenomenon. So you also explain how and why the different concepts are related the way you think they are related. They should be universal, these theories, so they should be accurate across contexts or specify any contextual contingency, specify for which cases, which context they are designed, or how their predictions differ between contexts. Established theories are well tested and have proven accurate at predicting and explaining empirical phenomena according to the scientific community. That doesn't always mean that the evidence is uncontestable. So you can still attack theories or discover gaps in theories even if the scientific community up until now hasn't really put pressure on the theory like that. Maybe you can do that and convince the scientific community of the deficits here. Theories thereby, in their structure, allow understanding also the how and why of a phenomenon, and at the same time allow describing the phenomenon in a meaningful way. And a good thing about theories is if they allow deriving new predictions and hypotheses. That means if they prove fertile in the sense that their core formulation allows lots of additional predictions, just if we take the main statements in the theory for granted. But there's two different kinds of theories with different functions. You may have encountered one or several so-called grand theories. That is an abstract theory that provides mostly a system for description and analysis that is widely across phenomena and domains. Often that makes it more useful as a toolbox of types of concepts, types of explanations, types of predictions. Such an analytical framework needs to apply it to a certain domain and phenomenon. So if you use such a grand theory, you usually have to do quite a lot of work to make it suitable for application in your specific research area. One example would be systems theory. Various different versions of systems theory out there, but by and large would say something like that social systems defined by constantly emphasizing their functional distinctiveness from their environment. So I am the system, outside there's something else, making this boundary clear. They strive to sustain themselves, keep up their autonomy and build it. It doesn't matter whether this is an abstract social subsystem as the health system or a small organization, right? So they all distinguish themselves from their environment and try to keep up that autonomy, keep the border to the environment, right? But to apply that fruitfully in a specific research context, you need quite a lot of application to the more specific context. And the other kind Other kind of theories would be middle range theories that are not as broad and abstract. A theory specific to a certain phenomenon or domain. It includes specific conceptualizations with operationalization instructions, a set of mechanisms, explanations, and specific relationships and predictions that can be tested more or less out of the box. An example of that would be agenda setting theory in media effects research, where it just says the issues the media emphasize in their news coverage shape the perceptions of issue importance among the citizenry, right? So that is a core hypothesis of that theory, and you can use that more or less out of the box to create instructions how to measure which issues do the media emphasize in their news coverage, and how do the perceptions of issue importance among the citizenry look. So those are the two core concepts, and you have the relationship between them. The issues in that the media emphasize shape the perception. So there's a causation between the issues the media emphasize, and they influence the perceptions of issue importance, right? So we have a clear instruction what to do. Measure this, and analyze their relationship. Taken by itself, this could be viewed as just a hypothesis, but agenda setting theory has developed into a broader theory of salience of issues and their attributes that goes well beyond this initial scope. So this is only one component, but one that exemplifies nicely how middle range theories differ from grand theories, and that they are more immediately applicable without much theorizing. Again, a little bit of eye candy. I asked Bing Copilot to illustrate the concept that theories are built from smaller statements as an abstract art. So again, you see how unstructured snippets at the side, data, conceptualizations, mechanisms form a more coherent figure in the center of the picture.